It's your boy, Coach Defense here. Thanking you for supporting the channel. Become a lockdown defender by hitting that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And if you're enjoying your time, hit that like button. Help us grow in the community. Now check out our latest video. Leave a comment. And as always, you got to step up to lock it down. The Las Vegas Raiders are in free-for-all right now. You know, it's funny that Ed came through right on time because we're going to talk about his beloved team. Because they are in a tailspin, and it started bright and early this morning again with more drama, with them trading Davante Adams to the New York Jets. So, Coach Kurt, you know, we do a segment from time to time. You know, we used to do this for the NBA back in the day, and then we do it from, you know, as teams start to, you know, get to that point where they need to take a turn. You know, we like to do a segment we like to call "Where do they go from here?" And it's a shame, it's a shock that we only going into week 7 and we're already here with the Raiders. Yep. We're already here with the Raiders. So, you know, there's a lot going on. They traded Davante. There's no more question mark there. That's done. You know, they got a draft pick for him. It's a 3rd rounder, conditional. Could go all the way up to the 2nd if he makes the all-pro and or if he's on a Super Bowl or conference title contending team. So, that's a lot. That's a lot. What's going on, Jack?
Yeah.
So, you know, from your purview, from your point of view, you know, where do the Raiders go from here?
I think the Raiders made a solid move, and I think they made a great move.
By trading Davante?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think what they're doing, for one, everything that glitters isn't gold. And at some point, for the health of your organization and for where you're trying to go and what you're trying to set and the direction you want this team to go, sometimes the thought process supersedes the talent and the way people think and the way you want people to work together supersedes the talent. And when talent becomes divisive and it can't help you win anymore, then get rid of the talent, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I think what they're doing is now realizing that they have to position themselves to start filling holes, right? And it's very telling. It's very telling that, and you've talked about this, like, hey, if I know that you got to get rid of something, then I'm not going to give you market price for it anymore because I know you got to get rid of it.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And why am I going to take your headache?
You have
right?
no leverage. You have no leverage.
You have no leverage. And on top of that, I think the Raiders forced hands because they said, we're not paying a dime. We're not going to be on the hook for dead money. If you take this trade, you're going to take the trade straight up. And so I think that looking at their team, looking at the holes that they have and understanding that they needed draft capital to rebuild. What I'm saying that they're doing is rebuilding the program and the team in the vision and view. What up, Richie Rich? In the view of Antonio Pierce, right? And I think it's going to be a carbon copy of what we saw with Detroit because Dan Campbell, Antonio Pierce reminds me a lot of Dan Campbell in that type of, we're going to work, we're going to be hard-nosed, we're going to be a team, right? And I think that's what they're doing. I think they're positioning themselves, one, to get out of salary cap hell that was about to hit, and 2, saying we need to bring in fresh bodies, fresh perspectives, and we need draft capital to do that. And so I think I think that's what they're doing. What you mean I need to stop that?
He said AP is not dead, and I agree. Ironically enough, I agree with that. And I don't think that
I didn't say he was. I said in the blueprint.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna tell you
I'm not saying he's Dan at all.
Well, I'm gonna just say right off from a decision making perspective, like, you know, he might have the toughness in the grit of Dan Campbell per se, but I would say from a decision making perspective and a staff perspective, he's already behind the 8 ball for me. because he chose an offensive coordinator that, there wasn't Ben Johnson, obviously. He wasn't of the Ben Johnson ilk, for starters. He chose Luke Getsy, who was a retread from Seattle who didn't work there. Or was it Chicago?
Right.
Chicago, I'm sorry. So yeah, it's funny. Seattle let their OC go, Shane Waldron. He went to Chicago. Luke Getsy left Chicago with the Raiders. Again, it burns me up when you do these retrades because I don't get the whole idea. If you didn't work here, what make you think that everything's going to be roses and sunshine and tulips and all that good stuff when you come to a different organization? I don't get it. I would much rather have a young, hungry position coach or coordinator or college coach, before I'd pick a retread that didn't work. And he, really was looking bad in certain cases when he was at his other job. I don't get that part. But yeah, I don't get the yeah, exactly. They were happy Getsy left. And why the hell they thought that he was gonna work in Vegas is beyond me. So yeah, they won at Kingsbury, but yeah, so there you go. So yeah, I think that decision making right there is one. Two, I think that they should have been more aggressive about going after a quarterback and getting somebody that was more of a competent person than rolling with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. So those two mistakes you made right off, and that was before the season even started. Who you chose as your coordinator and who you chose as your quarterbacks to go into the season. Because again, if there's a competition between Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, you already know that the talent level isn't much different per person. Let you know right there's limitations for starters. Then again, you have a plethora of weapons, but your running back, is a bit of an issue. You move on from Josh Jacobs, didn't want to pay him the money. You could roll with Zamir White and Alexander Madison, who didn't work well in Minnesota. When you see the likes of Aaron Jones and everybody else up there flourishing with the same coach. So yet again, trying out old things, expecting them to work differently. If a car drives and it tails to the right, and you don't get an alignment, you try to take it somewhere else and expect it to drive straight. It ain't gonna happen for you. It is what it is. So it's just a decision making, this regime and historically for the last 20 years has been my issue. So I don't have the same optimism you do. Yes, you have maybe Jack underscored the points about what the conditions of the trades are. He makes all pro second or third, first or second team and or on a conference or Super Bowl, winning or, competing team. He gets a second round pick for him. If not, it'll be a third. So you have that option. But yet again, I mean, what are we going to do with that on top of, are we going to do anything differently in the draft that we've done over the past 20 years again, where the drafting hasn't been great? You look historically, outside of, to be honest with you, outside of Colton Miller and Max Crosby on the current roster that they drafted, nobody's panned out. Nobody. And I mean nobody. I mean, outside, Trevor, the kid, I can't never pronounce his last name. The kid, the safety from Trevor Morag, I think it's Morag, something like that. I can never pronounce his last name. It gets me every time. But they're the only three players that have lasted in this team more than 2 to 3 years. So that tells you that, from the front office down to the coaching staff and the personnel, the scouting, they're not up on task. They're not up on task. So with that being said, what's the odds that they're going to do anything different with AP being their head coach? I don't know. So do we have a situation where the owner is involved too much? He's in the decision making, that kind of thing, where he's usurping the wishes of the coaching staff, which is the reason why they can't seem to get people right. I don't know. But it doesn't give me warm and fuzzies that this team is going to be anything different until they quote unquote, fix that internal issue. And I think that's been the glowing and most glaring thing about teams that we've underscored in our Accountability Academy and other places and other segments we've done, is that it all rolls back down to the idea of what the front office is or isn't doing. That's included. So I don't know. I don't, you can say what you want of me being a Chargers fan, but I am a sports analyst and I do run a sports network, and I do believe that my opinion is valid. I'm just looking at the numbers. They haven't drafted well. Can't never get the quarterback right. The last quarterback, I was laughing with Alex about this earlier. The last time we can honestly and truly say that they had a competent quarterback was Rich Gannon. I mean, stop me when I stop telling them the truth. Because you've had quarterbacks, but nobody has been, quote unquote, successful and been, I guess you could say, consistently successful since Rich Gannon.
Yeah, I really believe that Derek Carr injury derailed him.
Yeah,
he was doing good. Well, two things derailed him. One, the injury that year that he was on, MVP pace at the time. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Damn good one right there.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
For the radio audience, Mark Davis is not bettling. Look at his haircut. That dude cannot make good choices.
That is true. But then also, he didn't have anyone that believed in him when Gruden was there. And he definitely didn't have anyone that believed in him when Josh McDaniels was there. So, he fell into a hellified pit, back to back. Right. John Gruden was trying to get him out of there, and then Josh McDaniels did get him out of there. So, yeah. But the last quarterback that you could really say was consistently successful for the Raiders was Rich Gannon.
Exactly. Because the thing, when Derek Carr was good, everything around him wasn't good. That's the biggest problem I have. I think that's correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll be looking at the stats. Jack or Rich or Ed, if you're still in here, tell me, did Derek Carr ever make the playoffs while he was starting? I want to say maybe once. I feel like he made the playoff one time. Or was that year he was hurt and they made the playoffs? I can't remember. But yet again, I do believe that he maybe made the playoffs one time. And they've had more losing seasons in the past 20 years than they've had winning. I think it's more like a 70-30 split on under 500s versus above 500s. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I think that the internal issue that you have, regardless of what you have as a 2016, he broke his leg that game. I knew that was right. Yeah, 2016, he broke his leg in that game. That's what it was. Got it. He was the quarterback in 2021. So he was okay. All right. So, but was that his last year?
When he got traded. I think that's when he got I think he got traded in 2022 to the Saints. But yeah, 2021 was the Josh McDaniel year.
Got it. Okay. Got it. We'll see how that went. Yet again, I mean, so people argue with me on Twitter about the whole John Gruden thing, but John Gruden and his mess, hiring McDaniels, and now interim coach to now full-time head coach in AP, who's had been a head coach before. I don't know, man. It's almost like a great value version of the Cowboys. So I don't know. I think it stems from up top, and I'm not very optimistic that they're going to get it right, get going forward, even if they accumulate a lot of picks. Now, let's say this. I'm gonna end with this. What do you think? And this is a question for you. What do you think they do if they have a high draft pick?
Are we talking about 1 through 5?
Oh yeah, it has to be. Yeah,
I think they go after quarterback.
Okay. So, but let's say hypothetically they don't have the top pick. Do they still do that?
Yeah, without it, because if you look at,
I'm looking at the Panthers, the Patriots, the Browns, all teams that could be above them.
Here's why I say that. These three quarterbacks, I think they're going to position for. You have Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Carson Beck. On top of with Dylan Gabriel. I strongly think if they're in the top 5 somewhere, they're going to grab a quarterback. Somehow, some way. I would say their main focus out the gate is going to be quarterback.
Okay.
And then after that, they're going to look to fill the offensive line.
Okay. I mean, I'm with that. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's where you got to start at, to be honest with you. With having Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, I would say they would,
Julian, Tell them how you really feel, Julian.
Right. I'm not gonna put that on the screen, but
Right.
yeah, we understand your frustration.
That's a pretty straightforward perspective there, sir.
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. I will say this because I do believe that just like to Jack's point, they're gonna do quarterback for 100%. My concern is no matter if it's Carson Beck, Shador Sanders, Cam Ward, whoever it is, I do believe that we have to be leery about the Browns or the Raiders getting a hold of quarterback and doing it the right way. Because again, I mean, we're not talking about talents of the ilk. We just talking about Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, where even despite not having the best of circumstances from a coaching perspective, at least offensively,
Right.
In Caleb's case, he can still rise above that particular dysfunction. So right. I'm leery about kids like Shador Sanders or Carson Beck or Cam Ward getting in there and being hampered by the dysfunction that's around them. Because it sucks because you don't get to dictate who you get drafted by, obviously, and you, especially as a quarterback, you're thrust into duty and being a leader, and you got all this craziness going around you. I always use that meme about my man Childish Gambino walking into the apartment and it's on fire, like everything's going haywire. Like he walking in with 2 pizzas and everything in the apartment is on fire. That kind of thing, and that's what it feels like when you walk into a bad organization.
Right.
So. So let me say this, and I want to get the Raiders fans in the chat opinion as well. So do they make any more moves before the trade deadline, like Max Crosby, Colton Miller? Because I've heard some analysts in the and on Twitter say that they should just burn it all down and never let everything burn. Just rebuild it from the ground zero. So do you think they trade anybody else before the trade deadline?
No, I don't think they have any of the. I don't think they have any of the pieces that they want to get rid of. I was reading something and they was talking about Max Crosby, but Max Crosby is the epitome and the lifeline, the heartbeat of that team. And so, there would be no reason to trade Max. If I saw them trade Max, then I would 100% say, as the graphic shows, you're tanking. You're officially tanking at that point. But Max, I think Max has done too much for the organization right now. He's playing at such a high level, and he really desires to stay in Las Vegas, right? And so, no, I don't see them trading
despite
anyone else.
The coach on the sideline, did you see that? You see him push the coach on the sideline? You see him push the coach on the sideline?
I did, but I didn't know if that was like I'm hype or I'm pissed push, because I didn't see the context. So yeah, I did see that though. I don't know what's going on in today's time with players and coaches and that. It's still a little strange to me to see that, just a respect of authority. I don't have to like the person, but I like to, I don't have to like the person, but I can respect the position. And when it's just weird to me that if we start seeing that players and coaches and that respect paradigm shift happen, because what happens. You see it in the NFL and it slowly trickles down. And that's, they can get away with it. They grown men making money. This a livelihood. It ain't gonna work the same for college and high school kids.
Yeah,
it ain't gonna work the same. So, but yeah, I don't see them trading anybody else.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that I get to the point where they talk about in the chat. They talk about Johnson Powers Johnson. I think they have a Jackson Powers Johnson. I think they got a great center going forward. I think they got a staple left tackle on Colton Miller. I mean, that's building blocks for a new quarterback. I mean, you gotta fill out the rest of the line. I think Dylan Parham is a solid, sleeper pick that I called out a season ago that they can keep as a guard. They just got to fill in one guard and one tackle position. I think you can do that in one draft, along with drafting a quarterback, and then you got to figure out what they're going to do on defense. But yeah, I mean, they got a lot of work to do. I think they got a lot of work to do, and we'll see how they do things. But yet again, you just gotta understand that history tells me that going from the last 20 years on, since Mark Davis has been running the show, it hadn't been pretty. So, I guess taper your expectations if you're a Raiders fan. That's all I can really tell you. That's all I can really tell you. But you know, we'll see how things go down the road. And of course, our faithful and loyal Raiders fans, they'll come through the chat week to week. They'll keep us abreast of what's going on if we miss anything.
Yeah.
If we miss anything at all.